Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our press conference titled, "It is not a moment, it is a movement. African youth leading the HBCU Green Fund's relentless push for climate justice on the road to COP30." Today, I am super excited to share youth voices from the continent and from the HBCU Green Fund's Sustainable Africa Network. We are here in Bonn to elevate global demands at UN climate talks, as well as COP30 in Brazil. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Frances Roberts-Gregory, and I serve on the board of the HBCU Green Fund. I am also affiliated with the UNFCCC Women and Gender Constituency, as well as the Chisholm Legacy Project's Global Afro-Descendant Climate Justice Collaborative. My colleagues today will deliver a strong message. We unequivocally believe that climate justice must center African and African descendant communities, not just in word, not just as tokens, but in action, policy, and investment. Our theme today is One Struggle, One Future. And at this press conference, we are marking a critical milestone in the Road to Belem campaign that was launched on Earth Day 2025 by the HBCU Green Fund Sustainable Africa Future Network. So today we will hear some of these demands, and youth from various African countries will ultimately devise an African youth climate justice statement. But before that, a bit about the HBCU Green Fund. The HBCU Green Fund is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Georgia with offices in Washington, D.C. in the United States, as well as in Senegal. We were launched over 10 years ago in 2014, and we have impacted 20 countries, and we've had over 22 fellows, and as well as impacted folk in 36 communities. Our leader, Felicia Davis, has been at the forefront of climate action, sustainability, and environmental justice for decades. And the HBCU Green Fund, which also goes by the Green Fund, aims to empower Black communities in building greener, more resilient futures, and to build relationships with students across the diaspora. So a bit about our programming and our ongoing and past initiatives. We have funded fellows, as I mentioned previously. We also have the Green Fund Africa, as well as community and resiliency hubs. One of our resiliency hubs, the HBCU Green Hub, will include a selling space for local farmers. Most importantly, we are proud that we have supported African youth in 13 countries with $500 to $10,000 USD micro grants, and we hope to continue this program in the future. At this time, I will ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we will go into the demands for COP30. Pass it to you.
Hello, and thank you, Frances. Hello, everyone. My name is Hussein Kasim. I'm from Ghana. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Climate and Sustainability Empowerment, a youth-led non-governmental organization with a core mission to educate, engage, and empower young people to be able to come up with innovative ideas in marginalized and vulnerable communities in Ghana. I'm also currently the National AIDS Focal Point for Ghana. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Patience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Patience Nabukalu. I'm a climate and environmental rights activist. I come from Uganda, a country blessed with beauty, with lakes, with rivers, forests, and incredible people. But today, that beauty is under attack, not just from the climate crisis, but also from dangerous fossil fuels, like the East African crude oil pipeline.
No, so you can just your name and then it will go. Then you can
sorry. My name is Patience Nabakalu. I'm a climate and environmental rights activist from Kampala, Uganda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sauti Lusanzu. I'm a youth advocate and a climate activist from Tanzania. I am also a founder and executive director of Healthcare Foundation Tanzania, and I represent HBCU Green Fund in Tanzania. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isati Cintron. I am not from Africa, but we are Afro-descendants in Puerto Rico. I am the director of the ACE Observatory and an organization that works with local communities that's called Climate Trace Puerto Rico, and we're very good partners with HBCU Green Fund, so thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you for introducing yourselves, everyone, and we will go into more details on some of our demands. So, Hussein, if you'd like to.
All right, thank you so much, Frances. So, like Frances said, we've combed around, we've looked at some of the challenges that young people are facing across the continent, and we believe that putting together this demand towards Belem is very essential because these are some of the demands that would hope parties would take it up, especially during negotiations, to make sure that at least we have a very decent life to live as people from Africa. So we have 4 main key points when it comes to the demand, but for each point we have sub-points which explains better. So the first demand is climate finance justice. And that we want to request for parties to fulfill and scale up loss and damage funding with agency. The other thing is we want them to fulfill and scale up loss and damage. The other thing is we want them to ensure direct access to climate finance for youth-led and community-based initiatives, not only for government and for large international NGOs. We want them to establish a formal global mechanism for climate reparations, recognizing historical responsibilities. 2, we want them to center Africa in global climate action. We want them to end neo-colonial land grabs and exploitative carbon market schemes that displace communities. B, we want to protect Africa's forests, water systems, and indigenous lands through local governance and community stewardship. C, we want them to guarantee equitable representation and decision-making power for African youth at all levels of the COP process. 3, we want just transition and green jobs. We want them to prioritize investment in African-led solutions such as renewable energy, agroecology, and circular economy models. B, we want them to expand training and employment opportunities for African youth in green and sustainable industries. C, we want them to implement an immediate moratorium on fossil fuel expansion across the continent. The last point, we want them to enhance climate education and sovereignty. And we want them to mandate climate education in African context, including indigenous knowledge and ancestral wisdom. And finally, we want them to invest in youth-led storytelling, arts, and media that drive climate awareness, cultural pride, and community healing. So these are our demands towards Belem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hussein. Thank you so much for that. At this point, since we have laid out our demands, which once again we will launch at COP30, we will actually ask a few questions of our panelists to go deeper into some of the issues. So my first question is actually for Patience. So Patience, as someone, you mentioned you were with Fridays for Future Uganda. As someone who has led climate strikes and spoken on global stages, what messages do you believe African youth and women bring to COP30 to demand climate justice?
Thank you very much. My name is Patience. I'm a climate and environmental rights activist from Uganda. As I said, I come from Uganda, a country blessed with beauty, with lakes, with rivers, with forests, incredible people. But today, that beauty is under attack. Not just from the climate crisis, but also from dangerous fossil fuel projects like the East African crude oil pipeline. For years, I have been a part of the Stop EACOP campaign because I refuse to stay silent while corporations and government plan to build a massive pipeline that will destroy communities, displace thousands of families, contaminate water sources, and fuel the very crisis that is already killing our people. Climate change is not a distant threat for us in Africa. It's our daily life. It's our flooded homes. It's our dried up wells. It's our dried up farms. It's our empty wells. It is hunger. It is displacement. It is death. And still, we are told to be patient. We are promised help that never arrives. We are told to adapt. Let me be clear. We are not here to ask for favors. We are here to demand justice. We demand that climate finance comes as grants, not loans. We will not be pushed into debt for a crisis we did not create. We demand real, operational, fulfilled, funded loss and damage fund, one that reaches frontline communities directly. We demand a just transition. For Africa, a just transition must mean leaving fossil fuels in the ground, starting with stopping dangerous projects like the East African crude oil pipeline. It must mean clean energy, owned by and for the people, not foreign corporations. It must mean jobs with dignity for women, for youth, for indigenous people. It must mean shifting power, not just shifting technology. We reject false solutions, carbon markets that steal our land, not solutions. Dangerous technologies that gamble with our future, not solutions. Real climate action means ending fossil fuel and investing in real community-driven alternatives. To the negotiators here and to the leaders preparing for COP30, this is not charity. This is not a play. This is demand. And we will not stop until we see justice delivered. We are not victims. We are leaders. And we will continue to fight, to organize, to resist until projects like the East African crude oil pipeline are stopped, until climate justice becomes a reality of all of us. Thank you very much.
We can clap, y'all, it's okay. Thank you so much, Patience. My next question will be for Sostine. What initiatives are you embarking on in your community to enhance climate education as well as cultural sovereignty?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Hussein Kasim, and I'm from Tanzania. Professionally, I'm a teacher. So currently, I'm using my skills in bringing young people together for climate education. As we know, there is no climate justice without climate education. Back in my country, the initiative that I'm learning in collaboration and support from HBCU Green Fund is called the Greening Generation Initiative. The Greening Generation Initiative is an initiative around the schools. Currently, we are working with the 20 schools, 10 from primary and 10 from secondary school. And through this initiative, we are planting trees, especially trees, shade trees, and also fruited trees, But also, we are initiating eco-clubs across the schools, and we are mentoring them into leadership, gender, and other livelihood aspects. Talking about cultural sovereignty, within a Greening Generation initiative, we are using local language. This is all about to promote inclusivity, but also since it's a greening generation, we are not only impacting young people, we're also impacting the rest of the community. We normally plant indigenous. What do we need? We want climate justice, and there is no climate justice without engaging everyone. Thank you so much, Chief Francis.
Thank you so much. All right, our next question is for Isatis. How can the African diaspora, as well as folk from the Caribbean, support climate action on the continent and help push for global climate justice, as well as reparations?
Thank you so much. I think it's very important to recognize Puerto Rico, its island and its territories and its racialized and colonial history go often unspoken in these international spaces. But yet inside of those, like our frontline communities and racialized communities, Afro-descendants, are the most vulnerable, and yet because we have not given any other option other than survive, are leading the change in the country. Looking to COP30, we are in a very powerful moment. We're looking at a country that has the largest Afro-descendant population outside of Africa. And there is a general push within civil society to get recognition, protection, and leadership embedded into the text of Afro-descendant peoples. So with that, we want to make sure that they're not an afterthought, but make sure that we are centered in the discussion. We have developed a global climate assembly that looks to solve the issue that we've been grappling with a long time. That is that these spaces are very exclusionary. Who can come here, who gets to speak, who gets to represent. So we are centering a process into making sure that environmental defenders, Afro-descendant, frontline communities, indigenous people are leading the charge into the message and the shaping of the policies that we have. And we're very clear that reparation must be on the table. So far, countries have engaged into voluntary commitments that do not meet the harm that they have caused into our communities, into our nations, and into our countries. So definitely we need to make sure that we're building together a future so we make sure that we leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isatis. I should say Dr. Isatis. All right, last but not least, Hussein, I have a question for you. Oh. What climate-friendly solutions are being led by young people in Ghana, and what are you excited about in Ghana?
Thank you again, Frances. Yes, so one major initiative, and then with the support of HBCU, that we're implementing a project called the Young Climate Innovators Program, in short, YCLIP, with the core objective is to train young people to be able to come up with innovative ideas in marginalized communities. So currently we're partnering with the University of Ghana, and then with the support of UNITA, we've trained about 30 students, and then we've built their capacity to understand and appreciate issues of climate change. And then after that, we are hoping to take them to the community to implement some of the innovations that they are going to come up with. And then we are also looking at international collaboration. So as part of the implementation, we are looking at partnering with the HBCU schools so that we can share or transfer ideas. So these are some of the initiatives we currently enrolling with the support of HP Green Fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we all have a better understanding of how important it is to lift up youth voices and also what are some of the initiatives on the ground. So at this time, we will actually take questions because we want to hear from you in the audience. So, any questions? Thank you.
Yes, hello, thank you all. I'm Stephanie, I'm here with Depth for Climate. It's a grassroots movement from the Global South. And you have mentioned reparations, you have mentioned the loss and damage found, you have mentioned swapping or changing from loans into grants. But what do you think about depth cancellation as a solution? Because all these options would not, in my eyes or in our eyes, would not be enough to really enable the global South countries to go into a just transition and to go into renewable energies.
Definitely. So we have been talking with different communities, and debt burden and debt overall is one of the main issues that we're seeing. So when we're saying grants and loans, is actually so that new processes and provisions are not producing debt without forgetting about the issue that is already there, right? Like I can speak from my country, our debt has further entrenched the colonial power in the island. So now austerity measures are blocking to make anything that is possible on climate change because they're cutting like public services, etc. So where is the space to actually grow and allocate budget to climate solutions? So definitely when we are developing the climate reparation framework, debt cancellation is part of that issue and it's at the forefront of people's mind. And I think like that is something to be spoken here, but also in other economical forums that have the power for bringing into more of these issues of debt cancellation. But definitely we cannot have a justice or a just transition or just solutions by making our nations being more indebted or going into more debt to go out of a crisis that we did not create. And so that for sure is very clear. That is unfair, and we have to talk about responsibilities. There are international law that make sure that harm has to be repaired. And not because they don't want to speak it into these holes means that it doesn't exist. So we urge parties to act accordingly to the international responsibilities.
Is there another question? Okay.
I also have a follow-up question to the debt issue. So in Kenya, my name is Terry, I'm from Kenya. In Kenya, for instance, right now, a lot of us are pushing for, because I work in the climate change space, but also I push for progressive taxation. So how then can we push for probably even auditing these debts? Because in Kenya, for one, I know of debts that, I think I know probably of debts that were acquired through illegitimate, corrupt money laundering schemes. Because, I mean, if a debt was taken and it was said that it was supposed to probably develop a road, I mean, we cannot see that road, meaning that we are paying for debts that we don't even know, and then it comes with austerity measures that affect even the climate action space and particularly affect women and girls that are at the brunt of the effects of climate change more. So then how can you interlink even the push for youth to be in the space, but also intersection it with debt justice as well, particularly for countries in the global north that, in the global south that are suffering most with the effects of climate change. And also just a comment that anytime we also do a lot of climate change work and climate action work and look for funds, we really need to be intentional about livelihood development and intersection it with it, because I feel like it's quote unquote pointless to have climate action without livelihood development. Yes.
I think that I'm not a finance or tax expert. I do know that many of these debts are actually illegal, right? And there's the need for auditory, where even there is a resistance to audit the debt and make it stay as public. So I know that there is like a lot of movement on the taxation process to make sure that this happen and to bring into more safeguards. And I think, like, absolutely, as you say, like, it's important to connect climate to sustainability. And I think that we often miss that connection between the Sustainable Development Goals and climate action. Sometimes they seem to be separate agendas, but they even share indicators, they share targets. So this is very important to bring it in, and some countries do. Some countries have their own departments, etc., bringing like coherence into sustainable development or clean development and climate change. But we need to see it more, and I think that we need to see more integration across everything, right? Like, we have so many conventions that talk on biodiversity, ocean, climate, but these are all interlinked issues. So definitely we need to see more of those working together to make sure that we need to think in systems and not in silos.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Isatis. I think we have maybe time for one more question. So, I don't know here, yeah.
All right, thank you. If we don't have enough time, I would be happy to take it outside. So my name is Hallelujah. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm here representing two organizations from Ethiopia, the Youth Sprint, and then across Africa, African Youth Commission. So I'm an Pan-Africanist, working for climate activists and environmentalism. So I'm also representing as a commissioner for African Diaspora and External Affairs. So I'm just wondering if you can be able to share experiences and how are the users across Africa or outside of Africa moving along with this agenda, right? So is it only for COP or SP that we're connecting and meeting together, or do we have any other agendas across the year? So thank you.
So it's not just for the COP, for Belem, but we are starting even from the Africa Climate Week in Ethiopia. So we'll have a stand, we are going to make flyers, and then we have a network. It's a network of young people from different parts of the continent who are part of this, this movement. So hopefully, after the Climate Week, we will now go into Belem, COP30 with this. So it's just not for COP30.
Absolutely, and I know we're running out of time, so I just want to thank everyone for attending our press conference. We're really excited for the press release that is coming out today, and if you want to learn more about the HBCU Green Fund, please visit hbcugreenfund.org. We also have Tuesday calls for folk on the continent if that you would like to join and get more involved. So again, thank you so much.